everybody. This is James Diboe, Undiscovered and dedicated to original people as always. And we got one of our people back in again. He's been on before. Yamm Tree, Abraham Ojapa. How you doing, my brother?
Yeah, man, man. I'm blessed, brother. How
Good
about
stuff.
yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Just trying to keep consistent with these Zooms and that. We're doing it in our own studio now. So, it's going anyway. So, good to have you back on. It's been a while, you know what I'm saying? And we've been having a few dialogues lately, we're speaking on like Pan-Africanism, but understanding Pan-Africanism where the actual work you got to put into Pan-African and what it represents. We as in Liverpool, we all grew up in similar neighborhoods, and there's a lot of history that people before us told us about what was going on in Liverpool, Black Liverpool. So we got bits of experience of it, and where we are today is the main thing, whether or not it's fallen or whatever, and what can we do to rebuild it. At the same time, is we don't want to get caught up in a Scouse tribalism where other Black people are looked at us differently because they come from other cities. That's why I'm trying to connect with people from internationally, whether they're in South Africa, whether they're in Namibia, whether they're in Nigeria, Gambia. So it's about what's your views yourself on how we can expand and make Pan-Africanism live up to its expectations in the times we're in.
Yeah, man, I've got different views on it, lad, different views, and I think what it all comes down to is doing the work, like doing the work, and this is what I've expressed in our discussions and stuff. It's like people are afraid to do the work, and it's a lot of talk I hear from people, and a lot of pointing out the problems was so quick and so excellent. Like the excellence that comes with pointing out the problems, but when it comes to offering solutions, people get real quiet, man. People get real quiet, and people get real people take it away from themselves. And I think if you're gonna come with the solution, you gotta lead that solution. You gotta be saying, look, this is what I'm doing, and you can join me or you can watch me. Do you know what I mean? You can. I think that's the only way to offer a solution, because you can be saying, "Oh yeah, all them leaders should be doing this, 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 and this, and this." It's like, help them then, and then if you think they should be doing it, show them how to do it, and then let them connect with them and do that. But I think a lot of people, and this is why I don't even comment on what other people are doing no more. If they're doing something similar to what I'm doing, and there's some way we can connect, then I'm like, let's collaborate, let's do something together.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna criticize someone else, because there's a lot of people who are doing fuckeries, but I'm not gonna criticize them unless I can do something, unless I can match their energy and outwork them or do something better than them. And in that case, I'll just let the work speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think in terms of Pan-Africanism, in terms of pushing that forward, and making it more practical, making it more usable, I would say that you're right, man. Like connecting with the peoples who are doing the work, doing similar things, globally, and really establishing it, and really, recognizing the personal responsibility. I think in these times especially, recognizing the personal responsibility within a wider community. I think they're the times we're in.
Well, remember the Renoka Rashidi event several years ago, and he's just recently, well, it would have been the 12th of August of 2 years of his death. He passed in 2021. He was in the Caribbean Centre January 15th, 2020. So when he came in, he brought in a different kind of, he brought in the global African presence. It was Pan-African to its finest. It was Marcus Garvey, his vision from when he was around speaking on the global African presence. Now, Renoko took it to a whole nother level, going to 125 countries. And some people, like, they might just only be saying, well, we only need to concentrate on where we grew up. Some people see it like that. And some people could see it as just a country. But I believe it's always about expanding and reaching out to our people, especially in the motherland, especially because there's everyone else from other ethnicities goes to Africa and they get comfortable within like 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like the red carpet rolled out on them. And I always felt this like there's a lack of respect for African people wherever they travel in amongst anywhere in this most place in this world. And I believe that Africa needs to get strong because we can see what's going on now in Niger, you know, all these places and that's what's going on. And unless it's almost like we can go back into a divide and be in a worse divide in situations like this, with all African countries should be coming together to be like, let's come together, unite. And the problem is like because people are not uniting like that, whether it's to do with tribalism, whether it's to do with many different things, many reasons what disconnect us. Could even be religion, it could be politics, it could be just a whole lot of stuff. People blame corruption, blame the colonizer, a lot of things, but we have to look at solutions a lot, isn't it?
Definitely, man. I think there's many reasons to disagree with somebody, man. Yeah, there's many reasons to disagree with somebody. You can disagree with them on a whole bunch of issues, man.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely starts with the mindset of, are you looking to prove somebody wrong or are you looking to prove them right? And I think it starts with self. Ultimately, it starts with self. Are you trying to connect? If you're truly trying to connect with somebody, you're looking for similarities. You're looking for things you agree on. And it's important to see it from that perspective. Rather than, oh, you're this religion, so we can't agree on this.
Yeah.
We can't agree on this because I need to find out what you think about this. And it's just like, nah, don't worry about that. Is that gonna once you realize someone's perspective is opposite to yours on a certain issue, is that gonna push you further away from them or closer to them? And it's like, boy, we've got a whole bunch of religions and not everyone's going to follow the same religion. Not everyone's going to speak the same language. Not everyone's going to have the same views on a lot of things, man. But I think when it comes to Pan-Africanism, one thing that everyone can agree on is that in order for this world, in order for this globe to survive, we need to uplift the African peoples to their true status. And that needs to be the most important thing. So wherever you see African peoples of this world, they should be, in your mind, they should be the highest of the high. Do you know what I'm saying? And if they're not, then you need to see them that way, like not see them as the lowest of the low, not see them as someone you need to help, even if they're in a state of poverty, but see them as someone you can build with. Because as soon as you see them as someone you can help, or someone you need to help or throw them a few crumbs, then you're already looking at it from a oppressive kind of view, because you're gonna throw them a few crumbs. But if you see it as someone you can build with, or someone that you would love to build with, someone that can benefit you as much as you can benefit them, you're looking at them from an equal playing field, and you're gonna treat them and trade with them on a fair level, on the highest level, not from you giving them a little something. And do you know what I'm saying? And I think that really comes from self, that idea of holding Africa and its people, because I think Africa seems great, but when we talk about Africans, we that greatness sometimes seems to diminish in the people. When we consider the people of African, because we see Africa as a great massive thing, but Africans should be seen in the same light. Do you know what I'm saying? And not as someone who we need to help out of their bad situation, man. And there is plenty of Africans who need help, but we don't help by adding to that idea of, oh, we need to be the ones to save them. Nah, let's see what we can do to build with them, bro. Like, because there's plenty of Africans thriving. There's plenty of Africans doing way better spiritually, financially, mentally, physically, doing way better than people over here. And I think when we have the mindset of we need to help and it's just like, yeah, we're not helping anybody. We're not even helping ourselves. So man, so I think definitely connecting with those in the continent who were just as passionate about the work. I think even with your travels that you've done, bro, like I think you really set the pace. Do you know what I'm saying? You really set the pace for people. You've set out a roadmap for people to see. And like you mentioned with Runoko Rashidi, he done that. And I think if we could each inspire that and set that and ignite that flame within each other to really take them travels, I think it can be a beautiful thing, man. Honestly, like bro, like
traveling's important. Open the mind up, like really, because it's just getting to meet different type of people, like how they live and other parts of the world. It's just it was an eye opener, and also it's one thing to travel, but it's another thing to research when you travel and go and visit, whether it's the temples, Angkor Wat, Cambodia, or going on long drive, you might have to do these things to go and find certain information. Like I know that you're into you know about a lot about plants, for example. So you're traveling somewhere and you had to go 5 hours just to find this plant, these particular plants. I know you do it.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
For me?
Yeah, for the love of the knowledge, man. For the love of the knowledge. It is getting back to our true nature, man. Our true nature is to be fascinated with nature. I think so. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think we've lost that by being so fascinated by yeah, maybe yeah, being so fascinated with the
Western
with
world.
with I would say the dark side of our nature, because I think the Western world definitely reflects the dark side of our nature, and one of greed, one of corruption, one of real devilish thoughts and devilish actions. You know what I'm saying? So I think when maybe that is a reflection of that. But getting back to our highest nature, and being fascinated with that, and becoming obsessed with that, obsessed with the healing. I found myself to be obsessed with the healing. I think about healing every day. I think about what ways can I improve my healing? What ways can I offer healing to others?
That's it, man. Getting wisdom every day, coming up with more. Because every day it's about learning and whoever you see, speaking to different people, meeting different people, especially traveling, meeting people who have ancient knowledge and practice these things thousands of years, so and then there's the scientists who come along, Western scientists who come along and start giving their information about indigenous peoples from their Western perspective, ignoring the spirituality, ignoring the roots of things, you know what I'm saying? So, and everyone has oral history, and we speak about oral history a lot. And as African peoples, and that, we've got to think to ourselves in this day and age now, deeply when we question things or want to learn about things. See, like oral history, for example, you can look at a different perspective. You can look at a perspective of this is what our ancestors were dealing with, what they were what they were speaking on, the ancestors, and the spirituality of like also where we came from. These kind of questions, where Western scientists we dismiss that coming from the apes and all that, but at the same time we've got to figure out where did we come from. And some Africans, they could say we came from the bowels of the earth, in the earth, and outward. Then but coming from the sky, the stars, clay. There's all sorts of different things we hear, but I think the main issue is some things in life are going to be the greatest mystery, the greatest mysteries. And I think that would be a wise view to put it, rather than like, I know the answer to where we came from.
We can never know that answer. And it goes back to what you were saying about the motherland, and I'm really connecting there, because I think it's recognizing our mother, or the part of our mother which is most prevalent inside our bodies is the mitochondria that exists within the cells. And the mitochondria are really the energy centers of the cells, and they exist as their own entities that work alongside the body. They work alongside the body, not of the body. They just come and they live inside of us, and we benefit them as much as they benefit us. And it's looking at it as like, yo, that's the true essence of really understanding. We don't need to understand. We don't need to understand. We just need to work with our true nature and work with our ancestral energy, and see what comes of that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're not trying to work out the true origins, because the mitochondria, we don't know how the mitochondria got into the cells to where we don't know. Was that the start of a creation? Because the mitochondria, do you know what I'm saying? So
is two interesting things. There's a brother named Wesley Muhammad, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. You think you probably heard of him. He's with the Nation of Islam. Well, he's a follower. So he was challenging, not necessarily the outer Africa, but he was challenging the female being first and stuff like that. Now he was challenging that, so he was more referring to it was a man first. So the Africans, we've always seen it as coming from every man, every human being coming from a woman. We don't know any other way. Like, we can deal with the spiritual, spirits, and then we all exist at the same time. The physical, but we've always dealt with. We all came from the woman. You know what I mean? So now, Wesley Muhammad was saying that with women, they don't carry the Y chromosome. So that's a good point to make, but it does. But I wouldn't necessarily believe it mean that the woman come from a man rib. But the good point that he made about the Y chromosome, which scientists speak on the Y chromosome, so a female can't, like ourselves, we could get a DNA ancestry, a Y and an X, so we can trace our father's father with the Y chromosome. Okay, now with the X, we can trace our mother's all the way. But the female can only trace her mother's when you do that's a particular kind of test where you're just doing the motherline or the fatherline. So if they the scientists find Lucy, or they find this female that's the oldest, they wouldn't be able to trace her father. They could do like a DNA test on her to see what she's got in her, but they wouldn't be able to trace her father because she doesn't carry the Y chromosome. So where the man, you can just trace and trace and trace, but that wouldn't qualify.
What's interesting about that? What's interesting about that is because I've heard this, and I think it was well established in science, but from doing some research, what they come to discover is you can actually, so it still flows through the mother, But what they've come to recognize is, okay, your father's, like, you can also get DNA from your father's mother.
Yeah.
So that's coming through. So if that's coming through, it's almost like this thing of like, yeah, the father's DNA can be left behind, but his mother's DNA passes through. So
Yeah.
that's always going to be a continuation.
Yeah.
So with my son, his mother's DNA will pass through him, but also his father's mother's DNA will also pass through him. But not only that, his father's mother's DNA will pass through him. So it's still always going back to the mother, but the father is just important in there because that DNA, that remembrance is always there, lad. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's that's what they're coming to recognize, even though the mitochondria, they said it was just solely based on the mother's DNA. Because it's the maternal line. What they come to recognize is actually every the fact that every paternal ancestor has a mother. That means that every paternal ancestor has got mitochondria and maternal DNA that passes down, and that always passes down or passes up, whatever way you want to look at it, man. But it passes through to the next generation.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. That's important, man, because our mother is the same, is our nature. Do you know what I'm saying? And the same way nature is our nature. So how we connect back to that ancestral DNA and our true nature, man, it's the nature, man. So, bro, I would love to go on a trip with you, man, and we'll go into the mountains and see what the ancestors were eating, man, and see what the real tribes people were eating, man, and have a conversation while we're eating some ancient fruit, man. I can just picture it now. Do you know what I mean? It'll make it a beautiful experience, bro. So I think the more we can do that and the more we can honor our ancestors in that way, bro, I think we can really connect on them on a level that you really ever see explored, man. And I think I would love to. Me going to Tanzania now. It's on me offering things to the people, even to the people of Tanzania and some people who are coming on a retreat. But I think
That's great.
yeah, John. So we're going on a retreat, and I'm gonna be sleeping out on a tent, sleeping on the Mother Earth. Do you know what I'm saying? Mother Africa, bro. I've never done that in my life before. I've been to Africa a couple of times in different spots, but I've never slept outside. So that'll be an experience, man. And just connecting with the people, bro. Really, really trying like feel to having a feel for it, you know what I'm saying, and offering something in return, bro. And I think goes back to what we were saying earlier, man, about the global conversation. As above, so below, man. Like there's a bit of Africa wherever Africans reside in it. So our offering to the contribution to uplift our people is just as important. We play a different role to the Africans within Africa, but our contribution is just as important, man. And I think recognizing where we are, recognizing what we represent, and recognizing where God put us or where we happen to be born, either way you want to look at it, and recognizing we've got a contribution that only we could give. No one else can give it. Otherwise, they would be born here to give it. You know what I'm saying? No one else can. We've got to be the ones. And this what you're doing with it. Like this is history in the making. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? You're a media company within the city focused on indigenous people, focusing on Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
That's I don't know anything else like it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think, bro, what the energy, the entity that exists it's almost like a portal. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know how many ancestors will be back in this moment right now, bro? Back in this link up and what it represents, what the podcast discovering, what that represents, man. That's really it's really special, man. You know, my
Appreciate it, man.
my middle name is Kashif, and it means to discover or uncover. Um so it's a mad little connection there.
Yes.
And I
And
think
you know what it is? It's one of those things where it's it's building from scratch. Some things can, and I think when you build from scratch, there's people where you can either continue with it and build, or they just leave it and go and do something else or something. But it's being consistent with it, where even though this is like when I first started the Discovery Show, it wasn't the first time I started interviewing. I was interviewing people in Kenya before. I've interviewed people in Fiji.
okay.
I've interviewed tribals, the Veda peoples in Sri
Mm,
Lanka. I've
mm,
interviewed. I've interviewed a lot of different people. I've actually, to be honest, I've actually got footage there, which I still need to actually put together. I did a little mini documentary, but it was
yeah.
only a short one. It was just a trailer. But I need to really get some of these interviews out there. And also, I need to start expanding to, because you see with Zoom, the great thing about the Zoom, you can just be sitting in your room, you can be sitting anywhere, you could be abroad, and then hopefully, like, when you're in Tanzania, I'm hoping that, we could get you on the Zoom. Maybe you can
Yeah.
show some of the stuff, maybe be in a Wi-Fi area, a good area, and then, show us some things that there. I'd be really happy
Yeah,
with that,
of course. Yeah, definitely with it.
Appreciate
Definitely
it.
we'll make that happen, man. And if I can get some footage and yeah, just and link some people to the channel and
That's
everything
right.
else. And do you know what I'm saying? I think it's definitely something I'm passionate about, man. We share that passion of connecting back to our ancestral roots and connecting to our people, man, globally.
It
Do you know what I'm
is.
saying? So I think it's something that can be set up, man. We can make that happen. I'm sure the people would love to tell their stories, man. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom that can be gained, a lot of connection, man. I think the people will be happy too. It'll be my first time going, man. So I'll get a couple of days. I'm gonna be in the retreat for 2 weeks, but I'll get a couple of days to myself to really just do my own thing. Like I'll be in Dar es Salaam, um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, which is on the coast, I believe, as well. So,
Yeah,
so I think I'll have time to just meet a variety of people.
definitely.
And yeah, we'll get it connected. I'll if we get some videos, we can get some videos.
And what would
I
be
can send.
interesting, also is seeing through their oral history of, you go in Tanzania, what's their creation stories, or where do they just have the same story as probably the other people on the Nile as well? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
100%. 100%, man, because I think a lot of the creation stories come with it comes with the traditions and it comes with the culture. Do you know what I'm
And
saying?
then
It's
again,
all kind
actually, allow me to break this down. Actually, this is very important. When I was in Zanzibar, which is an
of,
island of Tanzania, and when I was in Kenya, I met Maasai tribes. So
okay.
Messiah, they called them the Nilo-Saharan and stuff, yeah. But so
Mm,
you're going to get the Nilo-Saharan Maasai you're going to see in Tanzania, but you're also going to see Bantu people. Let's not forget about that. So that is very important. It doesn't. They're all are people, but the Bantu you're going to see similarities more because they're more
yeah,
closely related. From where we're from, Nigeria,
exactly.
West
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, yeah.
So
Definitely,
that's just
definitely.
another thing. Because when I was in Kenya, the man who was taking me to see the Messiah people, the Nile Saharan, he's Bantu brother. So it wasn't until I got into conversations and he was telling me that he is Bantu and they are Nile Saharan. And then it made that from there, it made me look deep into Bantu history and Nile Saharan and many Khoisan and different peoples. And then that got me more deeper into it because I thought this is interesting, this to look at. Because the way we were told, as if like people weren't moving about, there wasn't I mean, look at the things that we were doing. We were smelting iron, the Bantu agricultural farmers. So they were moving right across Africa. And there's Bantu people, what they call them, the Proto-Bantu, who were in ancient Kemet. So, our we've been people all over the planet, you know what I'm saying? And that's part of the global mentality that we all once had. If you think Bantu, you're thinking not like one geographical area, you're thinking expansion. Because if the whole of sub-Saharan Africa is pretty much Bantu, 75% of whatever's Bantu in Africa, that's showing you the mindset of the Bantu. I mean, the Khoisan, I'm not saying that they've got a different mindset or the Nile, but they all have their attributes as well, of course. So that's it, man. Bantu, man. Proud to be Bantu. We're going to go back in as the time goes, by the way. Just log back in on the same account if it goes.
That's it, bro. And because I think that it is about seeing a connection, man. And I think although it can leave some people out.
Yeah, so like you were saying anyway, about it's just this connection that we need to be making, like you were saying. You're going to Tanzania and it's going to be great, the experience that you're going to have staying in a tent and,
man. Therefore,
with the peoples, man, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Like really, really taking it back to nature with it, not trying to stay in the fancy hotel and that's for me, that's what it's about, man. Really connecting with the people. Like when we went to Nigeria, it was the same thing, really connecting with the people in Nigeria. In Nigeria, and not trying to, like really connecting with the people, not trying to just be around the tourists. Just that real connection. And obviously people, you treat a difference based on the fact that you come from the UK. So some people treat you like you're just looking down on them. Others might treat you like you don't really know what you're talking about. You're not of your African. But I think majority treat you how you treat them. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And
it is.
If you show that true that true humility and just love, then you're gonna get the same back from people.
It is definitely, and it's good that you're getting out there because the first experience of going to Africa, from what we're like, I mean, we've got Nigerians, so we had fathers to basically teachers and stuff like that. So it made it a lot easier than other people trying to connect as well. But at the same time, it did require to do some research also on top of that, because the generation before us were not necessarily historians, but they had the culture. The culture was intact. But we have got access to do a lot more, like as far as researching. It's easier to travel more so now, it's people from different parts of the world are starting to become more familiar with people from, Black people coming from different places, whether anywhere, means whether the Black people that live in Portugal, Italy, France, or to Brazil, the United States, wherever we are in this world, basically, and
100%, man. And I think them cultures, them rituals, man, I think that's where the connection lies in, man. Them daily activities, or whether it's daily or whether it's weekly, that's how you really keep that connection intact. And by doing something, repeating something in it, you know what I'm saying? It's it's a cycle. Do you know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
Have a cycle of
we always
information.
try and think of solutions a lot as well, and I think language is a massive solution. It's not
Yeah,
everything, but let's say like that, we all decided to come with one language, and it not be English. It don't have to be English. It'd have to be something that where is agreeable. So I'd go with a Bantu language for the
yeah,
fact of if you look deeper into it and you look at other parts of the world, we look at Africa, the massive expansion, about 3,000 Bantu languages and stuff, or dialects. And then
yeah.
you look at the Yoruba people, Yoruba speakers in Haiti,
Mm.
Brazil, and Cuba. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
a
So,
lot. You know what? Do you know
and
what I would
there's actually
say?
people in America as well, learning
Yeah,
Yoruba.
yeah. And I think what in order to create one that everyone would want to follow, all honestly, I think it would have to be a new language. I think people that
Yeah, maybe a
to
new language would have to
yeah,
be.
it would have to be a new language. But I
Yeah,
think that only becomes possible when people learn the languages that are already within their heritage. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think when people come from it from an African point of view, do you get me? And they're already open to learning language, then I think it's possible to be like, you know what? Let's come together to create a language based on some of the because I think languages have been created in Africa through um, interaction with other groups
yeah,
and breaking away from a main group and interacting with another group. A
yeah,
language can be created in just that movement of peoples to a new land.
yeah,
I think that's how we've got so many different languages and people coming from like the Middle East and settling into Africa. Whether or not you had people coming from the Americas or coming from further down, coming up from down to from south to north, all of that. I think that happening, but I think they're coming together because that's a real movement as well. That's a spiritual movement coming together of
yeah,
peoples. Um, that's that's a very that idea is so it's so clear in people's minds of being a solution. We need to unite. That's a thing everyone can agree on. We need to unite. But I think it's never been done. Like we need to be realistic and say it has never been done because there has never been a greater need for it in our lifetime in our history. There's never been a greater need to unite with our peoples than there is right now today. And I think that movement alone, that movement towards each other, requires its language. It requires its own language.
yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? It can't be English because it's like we're, we're trying to come together on the basis of English language and language others being so oppressive
yeah,
in the language written in the language. The oppression is written in the language. You can't escape from it. So I think that requires its own language in order to unite under. Because there's been calls about Swahili being a language.
mixed
Um,
Arabic and Bantu. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like it does connect a lot of people because a lot of African peoples do speak Arabic and a lot of African people speak Bantu as well. But there is still going to be some groups left out. But
you know, another
but
thing I was going to say is an interesting one. Yeah, you know, we as ancient, well, going back to the ancient people, even people who still live in, rural and traditional ways and that. What I found is like how attached you are to your land. So what I mean is if you just go through a drought, if you go through any kind of catastrophes, there's always or even invasions, and you must move and you have to adapt to different lands and stuff like that. So, and another thing is sometimes see where a river, basically when nature takes over. So when nature takes over, for example, you have your land and that, yeah. So if you look at, for example, when the Sahara Desert was not a desert, it was lakes, it was lush vegetation, and also populated with people and animals. So if you analyze from these times, because there's not too much, you see, when evidence gets hard to look for, I mean, I really follow a brother called Dr. Clyde Winters. He deals with the proto-Saharan culture. He basically shows you in the middle, that area where the Sahara is. So he's showing you, like he draws it, it's like a circle of where sort of like Lake Chad is. It's sort of like that area anyway where it's just all desert right now. And a lot of cultures could meet in these areas. And this is before even the pre-dynastic time, before even Egypt was established. So who knows what kind of civilizations were going on pre-dynastic times. We know a lot through all history, but documented scientists are not really too good on when it comes to anything pre-dynastic anyway, these Western scientists. So what if it is like quite factual, this Clyde Winters, and there's other scholars that spoke on this, and he said that these were Proto-Bantu. He spoke like a Niger-Congo Mandi language, which is connected to Niger-Congo, connected to Bantu. And he also become established the pyramids in Egypt. He also was the royalty in Nubia, and also leaving Africa, going to Sumer. You're there by Sumer. He went to Persia, where you call the Elamites and Dravidians in India, and probably went elsewhere. And because we are controlled by Western scientists, they'll tell us things like what we were doing in Africa, like we weren't navigating oceans. You know, they'll totally write us off. That's what these people do. So it's up to us for like we've got to be the archaeologist, anthropologist, the scientist, the spiritualist. We've got to like cover all areas because as African, we're quite all inclusive people. You know, when I say all inclusive, I mean wasn't just about like one thing. You know, I mean, you look at the amount of different creation stories, the amount of different dialects, the amount of different tribes. But at the same time, I don't play into the tribalism as a youth, I just always knew we were the Ijaw tribe, Nigeria, Delta State, this and that. But I never see myself different than any other African, you know, because when we look at what Nigeria is, that's basically not the exact geographical area, and that's not even the name anyway. You know, like should we go by Yoruba Empire? How do we see things geographically? And we shouldn't even see borders or there's passports.
Yeah, 100%. Malima says it like how about like having a Africa, United States of Africa. He's one people who say, one person who says it like free trade, pulling resources together, because realistically it's like these borders weren't created for the best interest of Africa. They were created to keep us divided. So how can we keep moving as a divided, and it's like it's easy to see the differences. It's easy to really see the differences, and I think when we focus on the differences, that's where it becomes the issue, because the unity of people is what we should be striving towards. We're born different, even in our own families, man. Like, there's not, unless you're twins. Even when you're twins, there's some difference in there, man. We're born different. That's a consequence of creation. Do you know what I'm saying? That's just a consequence of, that's just the universal laws, man. It's just like there's going to be a difference. Nothing stays the same. Generation to generation, from time to time, things change. So it's like when we see that unity, when we see that oneness and all, then we really tap into our true nature. And it's mad because our it's that opposite. We're so different as people. That when we see the same in each other, we really found balance. I think seeing the same within each other, seeing that oneness in each other.
Yeah.
Because even when you step outside the African peoples, man, like most people want the same thing. Most people want to feel part of something. Most people want to feel loved. And I think, yeah, like it's just the same. But I think
We
when
want people,
Africa,
man. Isn't it? That's been on a long journey throughout history. Many different events, good, bad, all different.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
A
And going
long
back to
time
what we were
ago.
saying earlier, man, like when we look at Western society as it is, as it stands, and I'm not saying the white man. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying Western society in a sense of wanting to structure everything and wanting to um capitalize off everything and wanting to tax everything and wanting to really restrict everything. That is,
Ruin the purest form of things.
yeah.
Kill it.
When we do that is we really and wanting to control everything. When we do that,
Yeah.
we are that is another nature of us um that needed that needs to be recognized as well as the freedom aspect and as well as the love in everyone and everything else. It's like it's a part of our nature. So Western society is also part of our nature. So it needs to be recognized as that, and not something separate to us because it's not separate to us really. Um, half of the people who are actually doing the work in Pan Africanism, or whether they realize they're doing the work or not. Because some people don't even realize they're doing the work. Some people are just on the mission and they're doing what they're good at,
Yeah.
but they're doing the work for their people at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well,
John,
to take it real serious and that
yeah,
is like I remember Michelle Walker at the Pan African group several years ago, and there was only a few people that came in, and there was unfortunately there wasn't many people, but I started to realize that it's not for everybody like to come on a conscious level. So you've got to start with your little few people and make sure you're all on the same page because it's easy with a few people to try to connect. You know what I mean? So it is like Liverpool. It's a totally different place in that man's, but someone got to do it, isn't it? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
that's it. That's it. I think we like this is what we're seeing, man. We're in the midst of it, like we're in the midst of that connection, and I think, bro, like as much as yeah, it's crazy. It's like I have this thing in my mind where it's like, yo, and I have conversations and people are like, well, we need to get out the city. But I'm like, yo, like as much as we do, we need to build up um our presence in the city.
Yeah,
And what better way to do that than to what's it called to narrate what to control the narrative, really control
it
the
is.
narrative, control the narrative,
Yeah,
because it's not a case of us being left out. It's like who's leaving us out? We're not leaving ourselves out, or are we? Do you know what I'm saying? Are we being silent when we need to speak up? Because that's leaving yourself out of the conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're being silent instead of expression, do you know what I'm saying? Instead of expressing yourself, leaving it for someone else to do, and being like, you know what, let me just sit here quietly and like, nah, man, And this is the season we're in. This is the people we are, man. We are expressive people, highly expressive people. And when we don't express, when we don't have that freedom of expression, or we don't feel like we should or can express,
Yeah.
then there's something that inside of us that dies. Do you know what I'm saying? African people across the world are highly expressive. They
You know
love
what
to sing.
another
They love.
thing as well, yeah, is we must recognize knowledge. Knowledge is in two type of knowledge,
Yeah,
academic. Yeah. So of course you have the academic. You want your son, your daughter to go to
yeah, yeah,
university. That's like, for example, you'd have some other plan where they're going entrepreneur way or something. But whatever it
yeah.
is, you're going to try to push them into to be educated. Now,
That's
that's
it.
one education that's going to help better your life financially and get on. But then
Yeah.
the most powerful knowledge is, even like watching on 19 Keys, is knowledge yourself.
Mm,
So that's
mm.
like, see, if you can balance between the both, especially in this day and age we're in, because of there's more opportunity now to become successful than there was a
Yeah.
long time ago, if it goes your way. And at the same time, there's more of a knowledge yourself you can get now, because you don't have to just stay where you are. You can move about, you can travel, you're gonna go to Tanzania soon. So
Yeah,
it's
man.
knowledge yourself, and that is the true knowledge, and it's the beginning knowledge, the essence
Yeah.
and the
It all
respect.
starts with self-worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
It all
because
starts with.
academics sometimes just a person, just because he's got degrees in that, sometimes they're not great at communicating with particular kind of people. You don't
Yeah,
subscribe to Western education.
yeah,
You
yeah,
might see
definitely.
things through the herbalist, see things through the shamans.
Yeah.
It's totally what's foreign to them. You know,
That's it. That's it. And I think there's that um kind of elitist mindset of
yeah,
like, well, I've got these degrees and I've got this and I've got that. And it's just like, or working for the bank or I work for this company. It's just like, it comes with a level of, I'm better than you. Um, and I think that can hinder, that can be worse for people. When you can't connect to your people, and when you haven't been when you can't connect with people, and you can only connect with those who are not for your people, or those who may be even oppressing your people in the many ways that it can happen.
yeah.
And then you remove yourself from you exclude yourself from even being able to truly help your people.
You can't even
Um
like relate to your average person with the mindset that they've got. It's how are you supposed to like, because you've got to like, in order for people got to relate to you, even if you came up from scratch and you worked your way up. You know, that's a
yeah,
great
yeah,
thing. But at the same time, on your way up, don't be looking down. You know what I'm saying? It's not
yeah,
forgetting who you got to remember your own personal life growing up, and just because you've come successful now, you're still the same person, but you're successful. But
that's it.
sometimes,
That's
if you look at success, yeah, and you think like, well, I can look at it from like a negative point of view of like, well, say people can change, but at the same time, yeah, is it the circle that the people are in? What's making them feel like they've got to adapt to this new change, what they're dealing with, because maybe they're dealing with people from totally different backgrounds who just
yeah.
don't know anything of like what the average person knows or has gone through or
Yeah,
experienced.
I honestly think, man, like depending on who your circle is, um, yeah, you're gonna adjust. You're gonna adjust to the level of your
Yeah,
circle. And I think that's where it becomes extra important to surround yourself with great people, man, or people you consider great.
yeah,
And you consider yourself great, and but you're surrounded by people who you don't consider great, then you're gonna fall to that level.
yeah.
And if you don't consider yourself great, but you're around great people, then you're gonna rise up to the level. So I think it becomes extra important to constantly bring in people or connect with people who you consider to be of a greater nature. So definitely, that is a serious tool for the success and development of people, to surround yourself with great people, man. And I think definitely, man, I consider you to be one of those great brothers in the city doing work, man. Doing real important work, man. And it goes without saying, man, like, yo, you're doing real important work. And there's a lot of people who say how things should be done, but there's not a lot of people who do. Do you know what I'm saying? There's the talkers and the doers, like, and I think you're one of the doers. And yeah, there's a lot of people who like, there is a lot of people who talk. There's a lot of people who've watched our podcasts, um, who have seen your podcast and wouldn't even say nothing. They've just watched it and just kept it moving, but it's had an impact on them. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people watching to see what the doers are doing. You know what I'm saying? They're just waiting, watching, and as soon as it becomes cool and trendy, oh yeah. I remember watching the first one, but you wouldn't even have any idea that they were watching. It's mad. It's mad the way there's a lot of watchers. I think, and I think there's a lot of people who've been like, it's almost like we become too complacent of watching what's happening. It's like you don't need to take part, just watch it and just see and observe. But it's like, nah, man. That goes back to what I was saying before. We are in the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius, like, Aquarius are quite observant people. Yeah, they observe more than a lot of other signs. So being in that age is an age of serious observation, watching.
And that's supposedly coming out of Pisces, supposedly.
It's a where Pisces are quite feeling, they feel what's happening. Um, Aquarius kind of watch what's happening. So, but it's recognizing with being in that age, we are people represented by Leo. You know what I'm saying? Which is the opposite of Aquarius. It's an energy which is yeah.
I think that takes us back to about, I don't know, it's 12,000 years ago. Maybe 12,500 years ago, Leo.
Because it's half the cycle. Yeah, it's the opposite end of the cycle. Yeah, it's the opposite end of the cycle. So it's halfway through.
Somebody with Robert Bauval and that, they were pushing the pyramids back to about 12,500 years ago. Leo, yeah, that's your.
Yeah, that would make sense, man. That would make sense, because that's the true essence. That's why, like, Leo season is right now.
That's
So
right.
yeah, Leo season is right now. So it's like, it's recognizing that the power that we're feeling, the feeling of expression, the feeling like we want to express ourselves. This is what's happening right now. Feeling like we want to really show who we are, show how great we are, recognize our power, and wanting other people to recognize our power as well. That's the season that we're in right now. So it's recognizing that, as though we're in that season, we are that essence. That is us. Do you know what I'm saying? That is us as melanated people. Because as melanated people, man, like, that season.
You know what I think it is as well, because there's a lot of talented people. That's the maddest thing. So,
Yeah.
and it's obviously people it's like there's a bunch of tools, but people just got to know how to use the tools. Like, but there's talented people, and it's sort of like, even like, you could talk about hip hop music. See, like, it's his hip hop 50th birthday, yeah. This year, 50th birthday, just gone.
Yeah, man.
So you can look and think, right? There's the mainstream artist who everybody around the world gets to hear. Mainstream people get to hear. Imagine some of the greatest underground artists. Whether they do it for the money, the fame, whether they just do it because they love it and they're never heard by too many people. But there's people out there who just do things because they're passionate about doing things, and because it's not all about everyone can expand in different ways, but some people like to use the helping hand to expand. like
Yeah.
sell out if you call it that, or it's go with where independence. I think
Yeah.
independence is the greatest thing, and you build yourself up slow. It might take longer, or you might have to put your own work into things. But I think
Yeah.
I gravitate to more the independence. I don't want to be begging
Yeah.
people. Also, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
And I
money where your
think
mouth is.
yeah.
People have put
A
money
lot
where
of people,
their
yeah,
mouth is.
a lot of people just want that recognition, la. And I
Yeah,
think if someone can make them feel so special, they ain't even thinking about why I I'm gonna be selling out. They just think, right, these people really back me and support me. So I'm gonna go over there with these people. And then before you know it, they realizing, oh shit, like they want me to make these kind of records and they don't want me to push the other stuff that I was trying to, you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people can be swayed by that, just feeling like they're appreciated over there. And because it is, and I bring it back, like, you know, like we are people that and it's been our downfall. Like Leo needs to be appreciated. That's how Leo really flourishes. And that's how like the essence of this season, it really flourishes through appreciation and through being at the center stage, through being able to express themselves truly. And I think that's why a lot of artists as well, they can be like, you know what, I mean, I'm getting appreciated over here, but I can't express myself. So now they can't make the records like they once did. I think that it's recognizing that's who we are as a people. We need full expression. And we need to feel like kings and queens. That's just who we are. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that all of these traits and all of these things that people even try and like say like, oh yeah, like, oh we are loud. We're loud people, or we are showy. We show off too much. This is all Leo
stereotypes.
energy. Yeah, it's all Leo energy. So it's this is something that I'm truly recognizing recently, and it's through something my dad told me about us being the tribe of Judah, and when he said that, that just connected the other dots and with what I'd been seeing. And I was just like, okay, if we are Leo people and we are in the age of Aquarius, that is the opposite. And this is the time where we're gonna feel the most like out of our comfort zone because it is our opposite energy. So if we feel that we are feeling completely like it's like complete transformation, this is where the most transformation could happen because it kind of swings. The pendulum is being swung. It's
Awakening,
the turning
mass
point.
awakening,
It's the
mass.
turning point
Yeah,
if Leo's on one end of the spectrum, the pendulum swings all the way to Aquarius and then it comes back. So it's like this is the turning point, and a lot will be happening in these times. And obviously, it's a 2000 year time span we're talking about,
yeah,
but it's a
cycles.
lot that
Yeah.
happens.
This is why
Yeah, it's a
I was
real turn.
this is why
Yeah,
I become interested in the Mayan calendar and searching there and like
yeah,
going there before the 2000. I went there to 12 September, and I remember, I was speaking to a brother called Tao Tao, on about these things, and just recognize the cycles where, from a Western perspective, they want to tell us it's that they said it's the end of the world. So
yeah.
that's Western perspective, going and
Okay.
judging people from other places again with their limited knowledge. And then they told me even the average Mexican from the Mayans I met to, even the average people were quite clued up and said it's just a new beginning, a new cycle, not the first cycle, it's not the last cycle. You know what I'm saying? So it was they didn't look at it like, oh, we're in trouble now or whatever. They just like, well, some of them are just ready for the new awakening. Basically, some people maybe just going about the business, but there's a lot of people who are clued up. And also, when we speak about the Mayans, we have to give credit to the Olmecs. Let's not forget about them because they're the ones who did the calculations, brought the calendar. Mayans didn't have no calendar just off their own. They were taught
Yeah.
this. Look at the
Yeah.
seen the pyramids in Mexico and that. And
Wow.
you just see the idea of you definitely got the Nile Valley teachings. Totally, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like not a copy. It's pretty much a copy. When I say a copy, like, and then just even going to see some of these Mayans now, you can see looking at them. They're like a bit like Aborigine looking, but they're a bit lighter than the Aborigine type. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, of course.
what we got to remember is the Spanish going in there,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
just raping
Yeah,
them and just lighting them up and stuff like that. So there's been too much.
definitely. Like, the last remnants we've got of Mayan culture is those who lived in the jungles, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
if for that to happen, it means that like people have really those who were living outside and those who was really building, like they went back, because a lot of people like to think of they basically that's where they started from, but I like to think of it of another way of like people went back to the jungle and to the basic way of living because of what was happening. Do you know what I'm saying? What was happening forced them back to that, to living like that, rather than and be more even, like it's almost like, yeah, like it's a fear of like, shit, look what happens when we live amongst people. We need to like just focus on our own groups and live within our own groups and don't let anyone in. Do you know what I'm
because they
saying?
get
Because
bred
it's
out.
like what happens when it,
Yeah, they get bred out. Like if you just look at
yeah, yeah. So I feel,
everywhere, look at the average in Australia.
yeah,
So take them to breeding camps,
yeah,
try to get them lighter,
yeah.
and then it's a process
It's
thing
yeah,
where
it's
you
the
forget.
culture, and I think it is. And going back to my Western society and Western culture, is it is a dark part of our human nature of being a type of people which are, it's a Dr. Layla Africa talks about it, and he talks about it being like a mental mentally ill culture. That's Western culture is a mentally ill culture that we've accepted as a normal culture, but it's one of a mental like disability. It's not based on harmony or balance with anything. It's based on pure the pure like I'm using the word
Climb to the
pure,
top
but
mentality.
it's
And
far from pure, just
it's like climbing to
far
the
from
top,
pure.
standing on people on the way up.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Don't
is not
care
not
who
it.
you kill. Your brother's not your brother. Your brother's your competitor. Your brother's someone who can take from you. So you better take from him first. That kind of mentality is what we need to look at as like not something we should embrace to get to the top. It's something that we should understand as that's our lower nature, and to understand that and to move away from that. Because I think a lot of people feel like that you need to do that. You need to be ruthless to prosper, but you don't need to be ruthless. You just need to be consistent. And I think ruthless people are consistent, and I think that's what really allows them to get to the top. That consistency in what they're doing, but not being ruthless, because to be ruthless, no one wants to. People would rather work with a honest man than a manipulator and a liar and someone who could be considered a thief. A business owner would rather work with a good, hard working man than someone who they consider to be untrustworthy, and just because they were good at business or knew how to make money. If they're a bad person, then no one's going to want to work with them. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
What
it's
I'd
just
say
a
anyway,
I'm
because
saying.
coming there near enough to finishing off last minute, and that is people need to go in there, visit Africa and see Africa, study Africa, and to see how great it is, how great it's been, and how great it can be. Because all contributions of people spend, buy your land in Africa, I mean, like, and probably way to do it, or throw your money in if you've got to, you know.
And yeah, and the African peoples, man, and the African peoples, you know what I'm saying? We're connected wherever the Africa is, wherever the Africans are. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, go where there's an abundance of African people. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the main feature of Africa, the abundance of African people. Like billions of African people. There's nowhere else where there's billions of African people, man. All
Exactly.
connected on one land.
Well, thank you very much anyway. You know, this is James Diboe, Discovered and dedicated to regional peoples. I want to thank Abraham Ojapa Yamtree. Enjoyed this discussion today. So thank you very much and peace. And we are here.